dance is a language, and again, it's just not one we're that familiar with. We're scared, I think, most of the time when we're trying anything new that we think we might fail at or not succeed at. Just go for it, because what you're missing out on if you don't is far worse than that feeling of maybe not being able to achieve a few of those steps. So it's absolutely worth the fear. Feel the fear and do it anyway, and you'll be happy that you did. Well, I mean, I'm one of those kids that has danced ever since I can remember, but one of my first dance memories is actually of my mom. So she really loved the arts, and as a kid, she came over from Italy and she wasn't able to do those things. And so as an adult, she found that she was able to pursue a lot of those passions. And one of my very first memories is sitting on a blanket with my sisters and being told not to leave that blanket, and watching my mom take ballet class. And I've just always danced. A lot of people use that kind of buzzword, passion, it's your passion, but for me, it's just part of who I am.
Good, 2 times, good. Try to be the tallest one in the room. Even through the focus. Beautiful, nice, hold the other body center to that, and point. Sit up out of the supporting side.
I think it's kind of just a natural progression. So my sister was in dance, I started in dance. I definitely excelled more in dance than I did in sports. I was not really an athletic person in that way, but I just loved music, and being able to use my body was really something that I really excelled at and loved it. And so I think from having 1 class a week to then, loving it so much that I wanted to do more. My parents were really great with putting us into different activities so that we could see what we liked more than another. And it was always, can I do more dance? Can I do more dance? And ballet was really something that I loved. I was at a school that just kind of had a lot of ballet, so I started taking more and more of that class. And through that progression, it was just what I wanted to do every night. It's what I never didn't want to go to dance class. And then as I got older, I went to a new school that offered modern, which I was terrified. After my first class, I just cried all the way home. Luckily, my mom said, we paid for the year and you can finish the year. And if you don't like it at the end of the year, we can look at something else. And it was just different for me. By the end of the year, I had fallen in love with modern too. So I think that was probably the turning point, and I was probably 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there, where I just was like, I love this. And the fact that I could continue to dance, as a profession was really an awesome idea to me. And I just never looked at the option of doing anything else, because I thought, hey, I love this. It's something that I am good at. People, didn't throw tomatoes at me when I was on stage. So I thought, hey, that'll be something I can pursue. And it just was a place where I felt really safe and really comfortable. And I just loved being on stage and helping to transport people as well to another world.
Make the arms sore, exercise too much of the legs. Good, left side.
I always look at when that transition happened, when I went to the new studio, as just a blessing, because there wasn't a lot of modern dance going on at the time. And it was my teacher that was just so inspiring in that. And I don't think that we'd be having this interview today if I was at a more typical school that did competition and had jazz and had tap and had all of those things. I was much more internal with who I was, and I don't think I could have had that kind of showmanship sort of courage at some point too that goes along with those kinds of disciplines. I really loved that I was able to express so much more than just dance steps through what I was doing. And not to say those other disciplines don't do that either, but as a child, I don't think I would have excelled in those areas as much as I did in this one. It just was timing. It was having, again, my mom encouraging me, if we can call it that in a nice way, to not quit, and really to just have that exposure. I think at a young age is exactly what made such the difference. It made sense to me. So if I was doing tap or jazz at that age, I'm not sure what would have happened, what my path would have been like. But it definitely was, a weird thing to be doing modern, because nobody really knew at that time what it was. And like you said, in the last maybe decade or so, people are more familiar with it. Its name maybe has merged a bit into contemporary dance, but people are more familiar with that kind of expression. And I think it was just the luck of the draw that I was able to get into it so young, and it just made so much sense to me that I didn't mind not having the same kind of competition ribbons and medals and all those things that my peers had, because I was never in it for that. Well, it's an awesome feeling. It's one you can't really, I can't put into words. I always joke I could dance it for you and I could express it that way. It's something that's so different than what we experience every day in our normal lives. And I think that the further you go away from it, sometimes when you hop back in, you're reminded even more about what it feels like to dance, or what it feels like to explore a new piece of music, or what it feels like to move your body in a certain way. And I think that teaching really enhances that, because not only do I get to continue to feel that on my own, but I get to see other children kind of have that moment where all of a sudden you see them change the way they're moving, and you think, I think they just felt that, right? So I think it's coming back to it time after time. And as I age too, it's very different. My movements changed as I'm getting older. And as I get to explore those things, it only enhances what I felt in the past. But I guess the easiest way to kind of say it is that you just don't feel the same way you do when you're dancing any other time.